Stories of the truck driver, the lawyers that defended the case, and the DUI expert witness who analyzed the case and then testified at trial as to the proper protocol procedures of the field sobriety tests as well as the breathalyzer test. This nonfiction novel also includes the actual court transcript from the jury trial, a courtroom showdown in which the final verdict would determine the fate of the defendant's livelihood. The book DUI Jury Trial is now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 12 o'clock.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Julie Walker reports a judge has put some new limits on ICE agents when confronted by peaceful protesters in Minneapolis.
A U.S. district judge has ruled federal officers in a Minneapolis area immigration operation cannot detain or tear gas peaceful protesters who are not obstructing authorities, including when these people are observing the agents. U.S. District Judge Kate Menendez ruling Friday in a case filed in December on behalf of 6 Minnesota activists. I'm Julie Walker.
GOP strategist Aaron McGuire says it is a tragedy that Renee Good was shot and killed by an ICE agent during an enforcement operation in Minneapolis when she blocked their vehicle with hers. However, she is condemning the use of that accident to incite anger against law enforcement.
They are making her a martyr. You know, she is now the Minnesota woman to the Maryland man. And you will continue to see Democrats make her an idol, a godlike figure for their movement, and the star of their show in this anti-ICE rhetoric that is heating up and is causing violent attacks, threats against our law enforcement.
That's GOP strategist Aaron McGuire. She spoke this week with the Salem Radio Network. President Trump has announced a framework of his new health care proposal. Here's White House correspondent Greg Cluxton.
The president wants Congress to take up the proposal after lawmakers let tax credits expire. However, the White House provided few details. Under the plan, the government would send money directly to Americans to use in health savings accounts. Critics argue the accounts wouldn't be enough to cover costs for most consumers. The president's plan also focuses on lowering drug prices and requiring insurers to be more transparent. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The president says his plan is so good, Republicans should be able to win the midterm elections based on the health care issue. More from townhall.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Stocks edge a little lower on Wall Street to end the trading week on Friday.
As the first week of corporate earnings season closes out, the S&P 500 slipped 0.1% Friday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 83 points. That's about 0.2%. The Nasdaq Composite fell 0.1%. Gains for several big tech companies helped offset losses elsewhere in the market. Chip company Micron Technology rose almost 8%. Several regional banks reported their latest results. Pittsburgh's PNC Financial jumped 3.8% after beating Wall Street's fourth quarter targets. Seth Sutel, New York.
Canada has reached a tariff reduction deal with China during a visit to Beijing. Canada's prime minister announced that his country has agreed to cut its 100% tariff on Chinese electric cars. That's in return for lower tariffs on Canadian farm products making their way into China. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Overall, an encouraging report about U.S. consumer spending for the holiday season. Bankrate senior industry analyst Ted Rossman breaks down what exactly consumers were spending their money on.
People are not buying as many big-ticket items. They're pulling back a bit on cars and furniture and home improvements, and yet they're spending more on things like clothes and sporting goods, books, music, hobbies. E-commerce is doing well.
As Bankrate senior industry analyst Ted Rossman, retail sales rose a better than expected 0.6% in November. That followed a revised 0.1% decline for the month of October, according to the Commerce Department. That report on Wednesday was delayed more than a month because of last year's federal government shutdown. On Wall Street, losses to end the week Friday saw the Dow down 83 points, the NASDAQ off 14. More of these stories at townhall.com.
Join your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt on our weekly radio hour, Chief Guard of the Republic, where we talk about all things national security, defense, personal security, safety, and dealing with law enforcement situations. Call in 847-931-1410. Ask us questions. We will get you answers. Every week, Saturday, noon to 1 on 1410 AM WRMN Elgin. Streaming on WRMN1410.com. Chat with us on WRMN's YouTube Live channel.
Chicago defense attorney Mark Schieblo has co-authored the book titled DUI Jury Trial, which is a true story of a DUI case that he defended. The accused was an Illinois truck driver arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol. This book contains facts about the case from the date of the arrest up to the jury's verdict, and this nonfiction novel also includes the transcripts from the jury trial itself. The book DUI Jury Trial is now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
The Republic Radio Show with your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt every Saturday noon until 2, WRMN 1410 AM in the Fox River Valley Media Network. Streaming on WRMN1410.com or the YouTube Live on WRMN's channel. And you could call us in on the voice number 847-931-1410, or you can pick us up on the text number 505-926-1410. So, hey, Paul, how you doing out there?
Good. Can you see me?
Nah, I can't see you. Got to do like all participants. Yeah, it'll be up in a second. But how was your week?
Good. How was yours?
It was good enough. You know, I published The Daughters of Bot Madam.
Congratulations.
So that should be available on ebook, hardcover, and paperback on Amazon. The paperback will also be available on BarnesandNoble.com, just like the DUI trial book that they just advertised. So my stuff is available, not just Barnes & Noble, but if you go into Kindle there and you publish your book, you could put expanded distribution. Expanded distribution, yeah, I guess Amazon will take a little bit of that, but that means people can order your book from other online retailers. You know, and it's not just Barnes & Noble. I know there was an online retailer in Great Britain where someone bought one of my books, so I could say I'm an international author.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but you gave me the best advice, though, was getting the Library of Congress numbers. So
yeah, well, Marla told us about that.
Yeah, so I got to remember to send them a hardcover copy of The Daughters of Bot Madam, which is a sequel to I Married a Bot Madam. So I just got a notice on my phone, you know, the Google notices, and it says that a judge, a federal judge, has told what use of force that the immigration officers can use in Minneapolis. I'm glad that judge is, right up there on the proper use of force techniques, and I'm sure whatever judge that is has worked their way up from the bottom as a street police officer and has a full knowledge of the use of force model. What do you think, Paul?
Well, we used to have a saying that you can't argue with the man with the funny robe on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can't argue with them, but you know what? When they get overturned and they're their BS orders on how to do your job. I mean, they're literally telling you how to do your job. I had to bring Darth microphone back into the picture there. They're literally telling you how to do your job, you know, and that can, and when it comes to a use of force situation, that could cause deaths on both sides. On both sides, you know. So
That's for sure.
yeah, like okay. So when I was on the street there, you're always allowed to use one level higher than what your adversary is using. Let's put adversary. So like if someone is being a passive resistor, and passive resistor could be me. I could sit down on the ground, I could cross my legs, I could cross my arms, I can make myself into a bowling ball where they're not going to be able to move me, you know, and I may be obstructing the road. So, okay, so how do you move me now? You can talk to me all day. I'm not going to move. So you have to use some sort of physical force, which is one step above passive resistance. So normally that implies a couple pain moves, a wrist lock, an arm bar or something to get pain compliance, to get the person to move, a little bit of force. But yeah, so all this, this is a minor thing, but it goes back to what we've been talking about, these activist judges. And my problem with them is that they can make these rulings that they absolutely know are going to be overturned, because that ruling there, if it stands, all right, becomes case law, and that case law can be used against every law enforcement officer in the country. They'll go, whatever, the state of Minneapolis versus the federal government, what they'll call it something, and it'll change the way, it'll have to change the way things are done, for better or worse. I think the use of force model you can Google it, the use of force model has been instrumental in the last 40 years, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And, it's just like a crosshatch thing. If you do a times table, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, and you get that, right down the middle, right? Well, it has one side that has, the use of force by the person, and then what use of force should be authorized by police, and what is considered excessive force when you go about that. Asking someone to step on the sidewalk that's standing in the middle of the road, and they don't do it right away. So you start using, or you imply deadly force. I'm not saying using deadly force. You pull out your Roscoe and you point it at them. That's implied deadly force, right? And that's unnecessary. That's way above what you should do. All right. But yeah, so that just, I'm like, man, do they have these people, do they have these judges on like speed dial, or is there a list of them, which one we're going to use next, that's willing to put their name out there?
Well, it's whoever the judge was that got the case. So whoever gets, they call them randomization.
Yeah, that's not random.
Whoever the judge that got the case assigned to him is the one that issues the order.
If it was random, you would think that every time one of these things go in, there'd be a chance that the president would get a judge favorable to him. You'd think that, once in 1 in 100, right? At least 1 in 100. But it's not. He never does. So how could it be random? Well, we kept picking random judges till we got one that we liked.
Yeah, what you were talking about earlier. Did you ever see the movie The New Centurions?
Way back, but yeah, no, tell me about it.
Well, it's George C. Scott and Stacy Keach, and actually Ponch was in there in one of his younger roles. But it's kind of interesting because what you described is what's called Kilvinsky's Law. You know what that is?
What?
They use their fist, you use a club. They use a club or a knife, you use a gun. It's one step up.
Yeah, all
So
right.
yeah, I mean that's kind of well known.
Yeah. So they say peaceful protesters. You can't do it against peaceful protesters. The judge, I don't think the judge went in there. So when you get in a law book and everything, right? One of the first things I've noticed about like criminal law is right at the beginning, they give definitions, right? Like, what is the definition of a person? What is the definition of a firearm? What is the definition of that? Well, I hope the judge gave a perfect definition of peaceful protester. You know, what's her definition of that? You know, because, someone screaming at me, is that peaceful? That's like disorderly conduct. Is disorderly conduct a peaceful protest? So, yeah, so what we wanted to talk about it during the week, and it hit me, is federal supremacy versus commandeering. And we're going into like the Insurrection Act. So what we got is in two states, particularly Minnesota and Illinois, that are suing, the federal government for enforcing federal laws within their state.
Well, they're suing the federal government under the guise of the 10th Amendment.
Yes.
Which I'm gonna read it so we're real clear on it. It's not a real long amendment. It says that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or the people. Okay?
Yes.
So what they're saying is what's not enumerated or prohibited is available to the states.
That is true. The 10th Amendment is very clear on that. However, as we know, illegal immigration is a violation of the federal law, the U.S. Code. And people that are here illegally without a visa are subject to arrest by the federal government. They are not subject to arrest by the state, because that would be commandeering. If the state can arrest people on federal charges if they so desire, but the feds cannot order the state to arrest anyone on federal charges. Is that correct in your understanding, Paul?
Well, a lot of things are federal and state at the same time.
That is true.
So kidnapping is a federal law and it's a state law. So I would argue that based on solely federal charges, no. But I mean, there's federal arrest warrants that go out and states can pick people up on that.
So now I'm going to get a little deeper into that where you have a state law and you have a federal law, right? That are the same. They almost mimic each other. And this is where it's even another term, extraterritorial jurisdiction. And I'm going to get around to how this all works together. So I have a DEA officer or a immigration officer, ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, and he's out there attempting to lock up a criminal. He's working, he's doing his job. He's in the course of his job, description, right? Well within his bounds, right? Well within bounds. He's putting a grab on an illegal alien with a deportation order, right? And now, one of the good citizens comes up and bops the ICE agent in the head. Hits him in the head. I don't know, wiffle bat, anything, right? And the state police and the local police that are sitting there watching that refuse to lock that person up for battery. right? They don't do it. They just don't do it. They're eyewitnesses. It happens. It's all on video. Now the federal government comes in and grabs that person and locks them up for battery against the federal agent. And they could even, it's in the, they can force the state to try that in a state court. Even though the state's agents, the peace officers of that state, took no action, the prosecutors of that state took no action to issue warrants. The judge in that state, no one took it to the grand jury. It's all on video. They absolutely refused to charge. Here come the feds and grab them. That's extraterritorial jurisdiction where the feds can come in and do that. But that actually goes outside. Like, let's say we have a federal employee overseas. This makes it more clear. Where it's more clear than just in the state. So I've got one of my embassy workers over in some other country, France. I got one of my embassy workers in France, and they're walking down the street, and some French citizen hits him with a baseball bat or whatever, a cricket bat, whatever they play in France, a badminton, and kills him. Right?
Oh, lacrosse stick.
Lacrosse, yeah. Hits him with a lacrosse stick, right? Although I think lacrosse was actually like Canadian Indians started that. Canadian Native Americans, North Americans, right? But, all right, and the French government refuses to lock that person up, refuses to charge that person for whatever reason, right? Doesn't lock them up. That's where all of a sudden that person is renditioned by the CIA or the FBI, goes in and grabs that person in a country, right? In a country, brings them back to the United States and tries them for an action that occurred in their country, not in ours. But it was against the U.S. government employee, all right? So we maintain extraterritorial jurisdiction over our own citizens. We could also try our own citizens for crimes that they committed overseas. We have extraterritorial jurisdiction on that. Oh, there's Paul. Hi, Paul. Yeah.
Howdy.
So that's that's the stuff with the stuff that's going on, is that our politicians higher up, the directors, the chief executive officers, and the governors are actually chief law enforcement officers in the state, right? So the police work for them, much like the Department of Justice works for the president federally. So when they're starting to say that they're not going to enforce these things, or they're telling their people not to enforce them, then yeah, the federal government's got to take action, because this is not, they got to protect their people. So that goes on top of one of the actions of sending in the National Guard. When they're not enforcing the laws and they're obstructing the laws of the nation, the laws need to get enforced. That's when the president is allowed to send in the National Guard, or even says, it even says I guess that's 10 USC 332. That he could send in federal forces. Something? Yes.
All of this, and it's kind of interesting, because everything is based on an 1827 case. It's called Martin v. Mott, and it's a U.S. Supreme Court case, 25 U.S. 19. And what happened was the president had called for the militias to band together to fight the British in 1812. And Mott was a private who refused to be mobilized, and he was court-martialed. And the case is very basic, but it's been held to be the reason to interpret the Insurrection Act of 1807. And the Insurrection Act has been invoked 48 times.
We're getting a little feedback.
With the last time being during the riots in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And what you're talking about are two sets of the code, 18 USC 253 and 254. And under 10 USC 253, it says the president, by using the militia or armed forces or both, or by any other means, shall take such measures as he considers necessary to suppress in a state any insurrection, domestic violence, or unlawful combination or conspiracy. One, that so hinders the execution of the laws of the state and of the United States within the state, that in part or class of its people is deprived of a right, privilege, immunity, or protection named in the Constitution and secured by law and the constituted authorities of that state are unable, fail, or refuse to protect that right, privilege, or immunity, or give that protection, or to oppose or obstruct the execution of the laws of the United States or impedes the course of justice under those laws. In any situation covered by Clause 1, the state shall be considered to have denied the equal protection of the laws secured by the Constitution.
Okay, so would you say that I have, as a U.S. citizen, a person under the Constitution, one of my fundamental rights is to have a reasonable expectation of safety?
Absolutely.
All right? Fundamental right. Is it outlined verbatim in the Constitution that I have a reasonable expectation of safety?
It is.
All right. So,
because you have the right to the freedom of expression of and the right to happiness under the Constitution.
Okay, so being safe is one of my happinesses, expectation of safety. I'm in a state of high anxiety when I feel I'm not safe. So if the state creates a atmosphere of unsafeness, I don't know, danger to me personally, right? I'm afraid to walk down the street because there are so many people that aren't being held accountable, and they know it. So since there's no expectation of retribution, they're going to just carry out whatever acts they want against me, violating my civil rights as a person. Then there's no retribution to it. When this happens enough, right, and the state refuses to correct the problem by causing retribution, because there's laws on the books. I'm sure there's laws on the books in Minnesota and I know they're on the books for Illinois that you can't rape someone. I know there's laws on the books in Minnesota and Illinois that you can't fraudulently obtain money from the state. I know there's all sorts of laws on the books there. But if there's no retribution for them, they continue to do it, which decreases my quality of life because my taxes get higher. Now I'm not getting benefits. So when we come back, I'm going to wrap this a little more together. So come back for the second quarter Chief Guard of the Republic show here on 1410 AM.
Can you hear me, Mike? Earth to Mike.
Want to read some action-packed, exciting pulp fiction? Read the works of Michael Tooman, now featuring the international crime thriller, I Married a Bot Madam. Available on Amazon in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle editions. The paperback is also available at other book retailers. Check out Michael Tooman's webpage at silent.net. That's Papa, Sierra, Yankee, Lima, India, November, Kilo. Dot, November, Echo, Tango.
When disaster strikes, flood or fire, every second counts. At Emergency Construction Group, they specialize in immediate response and same-day service for any residential, commercial, or industrial emergency across the Chicagoland area. With over 30 years of experience, they've got the expertise, manpower, and equipment to handle any size loss fast. They follow strict IICRC guidelines to restore your property the right way, the first time. Their team values transparency, constant communication, and strong ethical standards because your peace of mind matters. Licensed, bonded, and insured, they're here for you 24/7, 365 days a year. Call 855-4ECG now. That's 855-432-4669. Or visit their website at emergencyconstructiongroup.com and let Emergency Construction Group put your life back together one step at a time. That's Emergency Construction Group. Your satisfaction is their passion.
Get ready for Around the House every Saturday night from 5 to 7 p.m. on WRMN AM 1410. If you're a homeowner or contractor looking to tackle those projects that feel a bit too big, this is the show for you. Join Eric along with his knowledgeable guests as they dive deep into everything from DIY renovations to creating a healthy home environment. We'll provide you with the tools and tips you need to complete your projects with confidence and ease. But it's not all work and no play. We believe in having fun. Our passion for home improvement shines through as we help you save time, money, and reduce the stress of DIY. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, don't miss Around the House. Tune in every Saturday night and let's tackle those home projects together.
Most people out here think that taking care of one another is important. And most people would step up for a neighbor going through a tough time. Most people around here help out friends and family when they need it. But the funny thing is, most of us won't look for help when we need it. If you're struggling with mental health, you should know that there are resources out there that can help. And it's okay to talk about it if you need to. One place to get started with information is loveyourmindtoday.org. Loveyourmindtoday.org offers a range of guides, instructions, and insights for dealing with difficult situations or getting through a tough time. If you're struggling with mental health, get the help you need, because most people out here really care. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Join your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt on our weekly radio hour, Chief Guard of the Republic, where we talk about all things national security, defense, personal security, safety, and dealing with law enforcement situations. Call in 847-931-1410. Ask us questions. We will get you answers. Every week, Saturday, noon to 1 on 1410 AM WRMN Elgin. Streaming on WRMN1410.com. Chat with us on WRMN's YouTube live channel. That's comrades. We're back for the second quarter of the Chief Guard of the Republic radio show with your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt every Saturday, noon until 2, WRMN 1410 AM, the Fox River Valley Media Network, streaming on WRMN1410.com. Studio call-in numbers here are 847-931-1410, or you can text us at 505-926-1410. Or you could hit us up in the comments in the YouTube live channel for WRMN 1410. So, all right, so we got a little bit of the production things out of the way here. And, all right, so what I'm getting at here is that I think some of these chief executive officers in our states are more worried about their base to get them reelected than they are about their actual citizens. See, their care for the citizens stops as soon as they realize that their throne is in trouble. Yeah, I can't hear Paul. Yeah. All right, Paul. Say something, Paul. Nope, can't hear him at all.
Hello?
Yeah, gotcha. All right.
Can I slightly digress?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, nope, can't hear him. Put him back up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yeah, March is an important month because that's when our primaries are. And a lot of the politicians are doing town hall. And 2 days ago, I got a call from my congressman. And I don't want to say who it was, but if you count to number 7, you went one too far. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I was appalled at what I heard on the call. He basically said that they're encouraging people, quote, not to be martyrs, but that they want more people like this woman in Minnesota. And they want people to go and protest at Broadview. They want them to go and be pawns at the No Kings rallies, which are going on today.
Ooh.
And they believe that Trump's popularity will dip below Richard Nixon, and that he will then resign.
That's delusions.
That's what I mean. But these are the people making our laws, and it was sickening.
I have to say something, Paul.
Something else. He mentioned, without referencing you, about your concerns about Russia and China in the Netherlands
and Greenland,
and he said that if we only knew what they knew, we would be very frightened. And you've been talking about that now for over a year. And then he was at a dinner with the people from Denmark, and he claimed that the Danes were telling him that their children were afraid to go to sleep at night. And he was saying our children, meaning the families of these illegal aliens, are afraid to go to sleep at night too. And they also talked about packing the Supreme Court, limiting the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to like admiralty and different things. And there's to me
have any of them ever read the Constitution? That's what I know. The basic Constitution, as it came out, was written before even the first 10 amendments were put in.
Correct.
None of them have.
Correct. No.
They never took basic civics in high school, or they ignored it, or they had a cheat sheet for the multiple guest test. And that it just that's the politicians. They're saying stuff that's like, It's unbelievable. All right, the Supreme Court is there, and we're going to limit its jurisdiction? Yes, the
That's what
Supreme
they wanna
Court has
do.
a limited jurisdiction, that it can only take cases that are brought before it. So it can't come in and grab a case that's it can't grab a case in Illinois and say, no, stop. All right? It's not going to pass the smell test when it gets up to us, right? But by the time it gets up to them, it could be a completely different Supreme Court, right? So that's the you have to have the Supreme Court in there. If a guy's saying that we're going to limit its jurisdiction, it's already limited. It's already limited, right? It's limited by the 10th Amendment limits it, all right? Because if it's not in the federal statutes, right, then it's not, the Supreme Court can't hear it. They have no standing. No one has standing unless there's a federal statute for it. So if it isn't there, it goes to the state. And then the state has its Supreme Court based on its own constitution. Simple. Very simple. If I heard that guy saying it, I would shout him down at his thing. I said, what did you get on your civics test when you graduated high school? A 3 out of 100? Well, I know the congressmen, once they do one term, they get a pension for life. It's not bad pay either, right? That's what they learned. That's why they want to be congressmen. Here, back in the Supreme Court, they say, we're the ones to be. What laws did they make? Someone should raise their hand and say, which one did you introduce? Which one did you sponsor? Tell me which law you sponsored and introduced. Oh, that would be 0, right?
Well, they're also talking about these articles of impeachment.
No, that's just a waste of time.
Hmm?
It's a waste of time.
I know.
That's showboating. They're showboating. And when they showboat like that and they waste the time of Congress, then this is the own fault of the controlling party of Congress, because they're either Democrats or the Republican, or they're either Democrats or Republicrats. They're one or the other. They're a Democrat or a Republican. They're all the same, right? And the leader there, Mr. Johnson, should get up and say, shut up. We're going to censure you. You're wasting our time. The chair does not recognize you anymore. Move on. Articles of impeachment. It's just to slow down. It's to embarrass someone. Oh, we impeached that person. Okay, did you convict them? No. So you wasted our time, right? You wasted our time. A grand jury wouldn't indict unless they thought you can convict, right?
Right.
They're gonna say, oh yeah, we'll just indict him because that'll make him look bad. He'll be indicted, he'll be arrested, but you're never going to convict him. You don't have enough. That's what the grand jury is there for, right? The articles of impeachment, unless you have enough to make sure that 2/3 of Congress, it's so outrageous that people are going to, half the people, well, 1/3 of the people on your side of the aisle, because it's like 50-50, are going to go over to the other side to convict and to throw this guy out. Has a president of the United States ever been convicted by the Senate?
No.
No. Johnson, why was he impeached? Because he did something that they didn't like, but they impeached him. But the Senate said, nope, we're not going to throw him out. All right? When they impeached President Clinton, remember, he was impeached, right? Yeah, Correct. He was impeached. He lied. He lied. He's on tape lying. He's committing perjury. Right? Perjury. Proven perjury. Did the Senate convict him?
No.
And they're not going to convict Trump either of anything. It have to be so heinous. And I don't think we're going to see anything heinous. So they're showboating. They showboat. As soon as someone showboats like that, you should immediately dismiss them as not a serious person. You're not serious looking out for us. You're showboating. You're getting your name in the papers. You're getting your picture in the papers. Yay for you. What did you do for me? You wasted my money, my tax dollars that are paying you, right? You wasted the tax dollars of all the other representatives. They have to sit there and listen to your BS, right? You're wasting the tax dollars. Now, if this gets advanced and it goes to the Senate, you're wasting the tax dollars of the Senate, who has to vote on it and everything else when they could be voting on more appropriate things, which I don't think they have. You know, the big, beautiful bill, that was the last thing. And then the continuing resolution, how long is that going to last before we run out of funds again? The
30th.
Yeah. Nice. Anyways, that's what gets me is the showboating there. And that's what these governors are doing. They're showboating. They're not serious people. They don't seriously care about your safety. Doesn't affect them. How many armed state police officers do you think right now are guarding our governor?
Probably about 50.
50 armed state police, paid for by you. Our governor's worth how much money?
Billions.
How many privately armed security guards is he paying to guard him?
Probably none.
Yep. Your money going paid to guard this billionaire. So he's living in a bubble. He's living with who was it? But the people that aren't living in a bubble, which is amusing, and I'm sorry for any hurt that comes on anybody. I don't want anybody to get hurt. Nobody, you know. Violence, I could be a very violent person, but violence makes me physically ill. Honestly, I don't like it, you know. I don't like it. I got to be really worked up. But when these governors and these mayors of these cities, right, have these policies because they're fully protected, guess who's not fully protected?
We're not.
Their staff. And one of their staff members goes out and gets their head knocked in because of their policies. You win a couple, you lose a couple. I could get another staff member. Are they going to change their policies for their staff member? I'll tell you what they'll change their policies for. Now, I'm not going to say it on the air. It's it needs to be they need in order to change their policies, they would have to feel insecure. That their businesses are insecure, that their family is insecure, that their friends are not secure. If they feel that way, then they'll change their policies because they don't care about you as a voter. They absolutely don't. As soon as they do some showboating like that, we're going to deny the federal government the ability to enforce federal laws. And why are they enforcing these federal laws? Why do we have the laws in the first place? To protect the citizens. What's the one and only reason for government? There's only one reason for government. Protect the citizen. Not to protect your family, not to protect the non-citizen, not to get invited to the best office parties or whatever, or Christmas parties or holiday parties, dinner parties or whatever, not to, get an invitation to the Oscars, right, and get your bling bag and everything and photo things. It's to protect the citizen, the poorest, lowliest citizen, not the rich guy or anything, any citizen. The poorest, lowliest deserves the same protection that the richest guy gets. But I'll tell you what, right? If some Hollywood personality was going to come in and give a speech with our governor, do you think the governor would meet them at the airport with an escort? Like he's giving a speech on the west side, in the 11th district, Harrison and Kedzie. And this Hollywood personality is going to come in. Is he going to say, hey, jump on the blue line and get off at Kedzie?
Right.
Goes right from there. Goes right from the airport. No problem. Guarantee you he's going to give him an escort. But if you're a citizen, if you're someone, right, and you come in from Florida to visit Chicago over the holidays, and you got to get on the blue line to get down to your kids that might live in Bucktown or somewhere, right? Is he going to send an arms escort for you? Heck, there aren't even armed police officers on the buses anymore or the L's because they can't afford it. Because somehow we're down 2,000 police officers and they say, oh, well, crime's down. No, it isn't. Crime's misreported. And yet, proportionally, it's down because there's less people, because they kill off more and more shooters every year. All right? Or we finally incarcerate some. But there's where I'm getting at, all right? There's where you have you got two guys there. Now, let's say there's a condo building, right? And they sell a brand new condo building. And it goes up, and everyone buys into this condo, right? And we have a condo owners association. It says, you gotta keep the hallways clean in front of your house. You can't let your dogs or your cats, crap or pee in the hallway, right? You have to take them out. You have to clean them up. You can't have you have to keep your condo clean so that odors or anything doesn't offend anyone, right? And everyone agrees to this because these are all common sense rules. It's not anything about what color your door could be painted or anything like that. This is just common sense, common courtesy, where you shouldn't even have to put a law for that because people should be courteous of one another, right? So now all of a sudden a couple of these condos become vacant, right? And I'm the owners association owner because I'm the president because most people have voted for me. But now it seems that I'm going to be elected out of office from homeowners association president. So what I do is these vacant condos, I buy them myself. And then I have my people vote to change it where you can sublease these things. So I sublease them to Section 8. And I ensure that the people in the Section 8 are voting for me. Now, the people at Section 8 don't obey any of the rules of the condo association, but because I own those condos, what do? I don't enforce those rules on those condos, but every other condo gets enforced. You know why? Because I want them people to sell and leave so I could buy it up and put another Section 8 in there and ensure further that I'm not going to get elected out of being the condo owner association president. Does that make sense?
That's
what's happening in Minnesota. That's what's happening in Illinois. These governors are the condo owner association president. They don't care if the citizens, the hardworking citizens, move out of the state. They'll move in a Section 8er that they know is going to vote for them and keep them in power. And not just them, the party that they owe their loyalty to, keep that party in power. Right? So that's where they're going on this. They're showboating to keep themselves in power, and they could care less about your safety. If you feel unsafe, leave. We'll put in another one. Until all of a sudden, everyone is that. And guess what? Guess what our governor will do right then? When he actually feels concerned for his own safety, or, when he has anxiety about that, guess what he's going to do, Paul? He's going to take his $1 billion and move to a safer state and abandon everything. Just like Mayor Daley abandoned Bridgeport. But Bridgeport, as soon as, Bridgeport came back. That's the thing. Because Chinatown, right? But now what's the trouble with Chinatown? The Chi-Coms own most of it. They got, that's, all right. So what's the, on a base level, to take care of the citizens, the federal government is there to protect our borders. So if a bunch of Chinese warships were off the coast of California, well, let's say they just made it all the way through the Northwest Passage, right? And now they're off the coast of Maine, right? And the landing craft are coming in angry, and they've already bombarded the beaches with missiles, drones, and littoral cannons from the warships. And the governor says, hey, where's our Navy? Where's our Coast? Where's our federal Coast Guard? Where's the Army and Marines and their Air Force? I want them right now to protect us. And we go, Bep. How do you know they're here to violently invade? Well, they've already hit us. You know, how do you know these illegals are violent invaders? Well, they've already murdered and raped and robbed, right? And so why aren't the governors screaming to get those ones out? Because those are the ones they're deporting. They want to make you think that lady that's got the papoose on her back at Cumberland and Irving that's selling chiclets or candy bars or whatever she get water, right? They want you to think that ICE is driving by scooping them up. And guess what? They haven't, because that lady's been out there, no fear of ICE whatsoever. And she is not a legal alien. The thing with that is they're all run by people that are, we talked about this, right?
Yeah.
Illegal aliens are vulnerable to being a slave.
That's correct.
Underpaid, under minimum wage, cash paid, non-tax paying slave for some guy that's making big bucks. He's making big bucks. It's easier than dealing drugs. I hand out boxes of candy to these ladies, put them on the corner. All right, I've already sold my boxes of candy to them, and they got to make the money up. Any extra money they get to keep. And the next day, I pick them up at their home again, and I says, okay, where's my $50 for the box of candy? And they better cough it up. I hand them a box of candy, and if they make $75, it's on them, right? They get $25. It's your simple drug trade. It's just candy instead of drugs now, right? And you get free labor. The guys pushing the ice cream carts, same thing. And don't tell me this isn't the truth, all right? The guys with the roach coaches, same thing. Same thing. Someone's making that money. Go after those guys. I don't see that's another thing, right? That's another thing where I would like to see enforcement. Is it fair? Well, first of all, they're going after the criminal illegal aliens, the criminals, the guys with deportation warrants, the guys that have already been convicted of crimes or are pending a conviction for a crime or pending trial on a crime. And they're picking them up and they're sending them away, home, which sometimes is good for them because they're looking at 10 to 15 years in prison. But do we want to house them here? Right. But the guys that are hiring the illegals, right, the corporations and the businesses that are hiring them that know or should have known that they're illegal aliens, those are guys I want to see enforcement on. Because if the people don't have a way of making a living up here, right, then they're just as bad off as they were in their home country. Only here we have what? Public aid, right? And
Correct.
Stuff. And it's given away in some states for free. And there's no proof. And it's like, yes, we have compassion for you. Yes, we do not want you to starve. You know, give them a meal on the airplane and send them back, because that's what their country would do for me. And I would be grateful for it because I don't want to spend time in their prisons. But apparently we can't reciprocate that way, can we? Or some people are saying we can. We can and we should. Tariffs, same thing. We can and we should. All right, here we go. See you back for the second half of the show. Want to read some action-packed, exciting pulp fiction? Read the works of Michael Tooman, now featuring their international crime thriller, I Married a Bot Madam. Available on Amazon in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle editions. The paperback is also available at other book retailers. Check out Michael Tooman's webpage at Scilink.net. That's Papa, Sierra, Yankee, Lima, India, November, Kilo. Dot, November, Echo, Tango. Join your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt on our weekly radio hour, Chief Guard of the Republic, where we talk about all things national security, defense, personal security, safety, and dealing with law enforcement situations. Call in 847-931-1410. Ask us questions. We will get you answers. Every week, Saturday, noon to 1 on 1410 AM WRMN Elgin. Streaming on WRMN1410.com. Chat with us on WRMN's YouTube live channel.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 1 o'clock.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Julie Walker reports the judges ruled ICE cannot detain or use tear gas on peaceful protesters in Minneapolis.
Thousands of people have been observing ICE officers enforcing the Trump administration's immigration crackdown in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area since early December. Government attorneys have argued the officers have been acting within their legal authority to enforce immigration laws and protect themselves. Federal agents and demonstrators have repeatedly clashed since the crackdown began, with confrontations escalating after an ICE agent fatally shot Renee Good on January 7th as she drove away from a scene. I'm Julie Walker.
Minnesota's governor and the Minneapolis mayor have both bluntly expressed their opposition to ICE immigration actions in their state, but have those speeches broken federal law?
The Justice Department is investigating whether Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey have impeded federal immigration enforcement through public statements they have made. Sources tell the AP the investigation is focusing on potential violation of a conspiracy statute.
That is Ed Donahue reporting. He says that Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey are denouncing the newly announced investigation as nothing more than a form of political intimidation. GOP strategist Aaron McGuire glad that the public is finally seeing the truth about the ICE shooting in Minneapolis.
I applaud the Trump administration. They did the investigatory work and made sure that the facts were given to the American people. Because there were lots of people standing around getting different angles of that incident, and they had the officers' camera footage to be able to put out to show that all of those lies. And this is where the left really gets themselves in big trouble. They see half of something and they immediately demand an outcome and give it a final verdict.
McGuire spoke with the Salem Radio Network. More on these stories at townhall.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Social media companies have revoked access to about 4.7 million accounts identified as belonging to children in Australia.
This follows the country's ban on platforms used by those under 16. Communications Minister Annika Wells announced the figures on Friday, highlighting the success of the law enacted in December. The ban sparked debates about technology use, privacy and child safety. Platforms like Facebook, YouTube and X face hefty fines if they fail to comply.
That is Charles de la Desma. What to expect out of Iran with all the turmoil? Middle East expert Dr. Michael Oren believes it may come down to a deal, a negotiation.
That deal would look like something like Venezuela. We get rid of the bad guys, get rid of the bad mullahs, which may be redundant. I don't know any good mullahs. And there are elements in the IRGC who say, well, let us take over and we will reorient Iran back to the United States.
Breaking news at townhall.com. An encouraging report about U.S. consumer spending for the holiday season.
November retail sales were pretty good. Now, not a blockbuster, but pretty solid. The fact that these sales came in about 0.75 of a point better than the inflation rate year over year shows that people aren't just spending more because things cost more.
That is Ted Rossman. He's with Bankrate. He is their senior advisor. A Utah man charged with killing Charlie Kirk returned to court Friday.
Tyler Robinson's attorney, Richard Novak, is alleging a conflict of interest because the 18-year-old daughter of a deputy county attorney involved in the case was at the rally where Charlie Kirk was shot and killed. An affidavit presented by prosecutors says the daughter did not see the shooting but heard a loud pop. This is Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray.
This is ambush and another stalling tactic.
And that report from correspondent Ed Donahue. You'll find more of these stories at Town Hall.
Get ready for an unforgettable night out in downtown St. Charles at O-Shows, where live music, dining, and entertainment come alive. Visit the iconic Arcada Theater at 105 East Main Street and experience the venue voted Chicagoland's premier entertainment destination. Whether you're enjoying a headliner concert, dining at Rock and Ravioli, or hitting the speakeasy at Club Arcada, O-Shows creates memories. Tickets and event info at oshows.com, and you can call 630-962-7000. That's 630-962-7000. Make your reservation, bring your friends, and plan your next event at O-Shows. Live music, dining, and entertainment, all in one place. Visit oshows.com and join the fun tonight. Supporter of the America's First Responder Fest.
Great thing. I sent her that.
Comrades, this is Chief Guard of the Republic Radio Show with your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt every Saturday noon to 1 on WRMN 1410 AM, the Fox River Valley Media Network. Streaming on WRMN1410.com. You can also see us on the YouTube Live for WRMN. Just hit WRMN 1410 on YouTube. It'll come up. You know, subscribe to WRMN 1410. And then like our live broadcast. And when they save them later on, like those too. Listen to them 2 or 3 times because I might actually start making sense. Our call-in number here is 847-931-1410. The text is 505-926-1410. And like I said, you can hit us up in the comments on YouTube Live. And a big shout-out to Brendan and a big shout-out to Cleveland Dennis, who is out there listening. And he mentioned something about the fentanyl coming into the USA, like the unsafe conditions. And that is a thing, right? That was one of, Venezuela and Mexico and China, the stuff is being made in China, and you can't tell me that a total dictatorship, 100% nanny state like China doesn't know who's making and exporting that fentanyl, where they're getting the chemicals to make the fentanyl, right? And they're making it, they're shipping it. You can't tell me they don't know. You can't tell me they couldn't stop it in a heartbeat. Just like they, after World War II, after the Chinese Civil War, where Chiang Kai-shek was forced over to Formosa, now known as Taiwan, right? And I'm going to get in trouble because they actually call it what? The Republic of China or what? Taiwan. Yeah. Whenever we mention that they consider themselves China. And we'll take a call in a minute. All right. So they had the 13-cent solution. They basically shot all the drug dealers and all the junkies in the head. That was it. They kind of lowered the problem. But now it's a matter of greed, you got a lot of billionaires in China too. Wow, go look at that. Everyone's so equal in China under communism. Yeah, okay. Really. And money, they're stopping it. Fentanyl and drugs coming into the United States is a form of chemical warfare by everyone else on us. And it should be stopped, and it should be considered chemical warfare. Right? The people coming in, and this is where I'm going to get to more stuff about when we get into the Insurrection Act, right? People that come in to the United States and through fraud grab millions, in fact, billions of dollars, and take that money outside of the United States are committing economic warfare against the United States. And people who knew or should have known, or maybe it's even proven that they knew and assisted, rather than charge them with the simple fraud on the federal money, tax evasion and whatnot, they should definitely be charged for treason because they aided and abetted the financial crimes against the United States, which the financial warfare against the United States, economic warfare, right? That money's gone. We're not going to get that money back. You know, when the federal government pays public aid out, pays aid, social welfare out, they expect that money to stay in the system, to be recirculated from the system. Moving money prevents inflation, right? It also prevents stagnation, a recession. The money moves, right? Old conservatives and conservative people, financially conservative, not necessarily politically conservative, because some people are very politically liberal, but unbelievably financially conservative for themselves, right? They don't spend money. They hoard it. They put it away for a rainy day, and they're living in the middle of the desert. So that money ceases to be in circulation, right? It ceases to be in circulation. It's not moving. It's not getting the economy moving. So there's an expectation that that money paid out is going to stay in the system. When that money paid out goes overseas to a foreign power, that is financial warfare against us. That's weakening us. All right, so we got the caller still? Or do you, we lost him? What? We lost the caller. Maybe you heard that. Let's see. Yeah. Moving money also produces tax funds. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Cleveland. Dennis. Thank you, Cleveland. Yeah. So a lot of states and stuff, you know, a lot of states have state sales tax, right? And property tax, stuff like that. All right. So, when you have one state in a nation, because we're a republic, you know, it doesn't say republic, it says United States of America, but we are one republic under God, all right? With liberty and justice. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all right? I like that, justice for all. Right. That caller came back. Let's bring on the caller. Yes, who's calling? Hello?
You guys are my favorite program.
How you doing, Cleveland Dennis?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I trust you guys are doing good. It's all about football this weekend for me because I'm a big football fan. Played 7 years, semi-pro. Anyhow, what you guys say makes too much sense, and I couldn't help but chirping in about the fentanyl. You know, El Trumpito, he has a tax on China just for that, and it's still there. And we collect duty on every shipment that we handle because it's like 10%. You know, I don't know what it's for, but it goes into the pot. Hopefully they're fighting it. But I just want to give a little historical input that I know from what I like. It's his story, but I watched like a 1986 movie, The Last Emperor, and they showed how China's last emperor was a baby and all this and that, but showed also how the Brits got the papacy going and kind of infected half of the population or whatever, or hooked on it. But the present or the previous premier of China, you know, when people were complaining, like about, I don't know, 15 years ago, about fentanyl coming here, he said, well, you know, look what they did to my country, meaning the Brits, our cousins, right?
Hey,
So
we kicked off the British yoke back in 1776, and then we kicked it off again. We kicked it off when they tried to reapply it in 1812. Yeah, the Brits.
In 1999, the Brits were honorable enough to give back Hong Kong to China.
It was only leased.
Yeah, I guess, whatever it was, the agreement. But they're sending that stuff over here, and you hit, you know, you kind of hit the gong, for lack of a better word here.
That's great. That's a great word for it, Dennis.
Thank you. We're relating, aren't we? So, you know, the Chinese are sending that stuff here, and our government is supposed to be protecting us. And I give Trumpito credit because that's what he's trying to do, all right? But they're sending that stuff through. They're using, you know, the carrier via Mexico, and it comes into this country, and there's thousands of people that are dying every year, and there's thousands of people that end up being, lack of a better word, handicapped. They're handicapped.
That is an attack on our national defense, because we have to rely on a percentage of our fighting age males to be in shape to actually fight off an invader, all right? To actually protect our country and to protect our national interests, all right? And if you destroy our pool of people we can pull from, you know, you're narrowing it. There's not as many. And then what you're going to have a very unfair draft. So if you're a regular kid and you just, you know, you exercise, you play some baseball, you get decent grades in school, you're just a normal kid, right? If you're gonna be in the draft pool. If you're some self-loathing, poor discipline, no self-discipline, lazy person that's all about hedonism and self-pleasure and everything, and you destroy your body with drugs or bad lifestyle choices, right? You're not going to be in that draft pool.
Right.
You don't have to go. So when everyone else is getting drafted and messed up in the head overseas and getting physical disabilities and getting shot, coming back wounded and everything, guess what? You're fine, except for the fact that you have these other things, you know, the chemical dependencies and everything. And when you're gone, we had this word in the military, Jody's got your girl when you're gone, buddy. You know, so you don't know what's happening with your girl over there back home. And if you don't come home, she's just going to get the guy that stayed behind and maybe got a job, you know?
You have it. I lived it because I grew up in the Vietnam era, so my friends didn't come back. My buddy's girlfriends, I didn't go after them. I was honorable, but I've seen all that.
Yeah.
I've seen what had happened back then, and then I've seen what's happened with China and the fentanyl now. And I don't think there's enough, exposure to the American public. They do talk about it, but this has to be a bigger event.
Well, the mainstream media isn't showing this, all right? They're not showing any, you know, they don't want the public to see this, you know? The things that the public hasn't seen, that I've seen, that, you know, someone that doesn't live in a bubble, that's traveled, that's done something, that's been to the gutter and been to the top floor, all in the same day, right?
Right.
They don't see that. The top floor never sees the gutter never sees the top floor. I was traveling between them, right? And
spot on, Mike.
All right?
Yeah. Spot on.
If the people saw this stuff, saw the unfairness in the system, right? If they had a reality of the unfairness, tell them, have the mainstream media publish how many billionaires there are in communist China and how many people living in a dirt hut, climbing up trees with a Q-tip to make sure to make sure that the apples are pollinated because the pollution in China killed off all the bees.
Wow.
You know, ask them. Ask them if the press has shown them that stuff, and then ask them if they want that in their country. And you know what they'll say? Well, yeah, I'll be one of the billionaires because I'm so smart. No, you won't. You're not connected. You're the first. All the useful idiots. Who termed that? Was that Lenin, Trotsky, or Stalin? The useful, or was it Saul Alinsky?
Okay, I can't tell you, but I know all about those characters. And whatever they wrote about then, about their communist way or socialist way, you know what? I looked at the calendar that's next to my desk that I look at every day. It's 2026. All that other stuff needs to be washed down the drain. We got a modern day society that has to adjust to what's going on. I think the president is attacking that to get it fixed.
Okay, but we're, you know, Dennis,
it's attributed to Lenin or Stalin.
Lenin or Stalin, all right, useful idiots, all right? And that's what these people are.
One of them's a mass murderer, and the other one, it sounds like he's from the Beatles. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right, so.
I mean, come on.
The first person they put up against the wall, the very first person they put up against the wall is the persons that supported them, these useful idiots, because useful idiots could go either way. All right?
And they will.
All right?
And they do. And they do.
The people that think that they're going to make it under this are sadly delusional. It's like hitting the lottery if you're going to be one of these people that make it under socialism. All right? Everyone else, it's common poverty. Everyone's equal except for those that are more equal than others. So you have a few super rich and everyone else is literally living in poverty.
It happened in Venezuela.
Absolutely.
Right before our very eyes.
And why don't they see that? Why don't they see that?
I don't know.
They're like,
no
one's showing them pictures of Venezuela in the 70s, the 80s, right? No one's showing them that.
With them, and I know that they were functioning quite well.
Yeah. Now they have oil and everything, and they elected in Hugo Chavez, and it's like, oh, and he gets elected in because there are some people that didn't get the benefit of the big oil, right? Because the governments are corrupted, but there's some governments that are even more corrupt. As soon as bigger corruption came in, the people got less and less and less, but there's still the super rich there. You know, that aren't eating
super rich,
zoo animals.
Yeah, and the super rich seem to be the ones that are always in control. I don't know what else to say.
Because they buy off the useful idiots. Here, okay, case in point. I'm getting back to this now. Here's another thing, all right? You have the paid protesters out there. And I discussed this with the unfortunate lady. What was her name? Something Goodbye?
Renee Goodbye.
Renee Goodbye.
Yeah, we need to change the law. We need to change the laws how those people get paid. How that happens
Track the money.
Is beyond me. Yeah, it's back to rich people.
Track the money. She didn't get paid in cash. She didn't get paid in cash. No one's moving that much cash. There was some sort of transfer of funds via purchase of services that were never provided. That's the best way, you know. How do you take a bribe? You take it out in the open, and this guy pays you consulting services.
Yeah,
what did you consult him? I consulted him that he better pay me off or I'll break his leg. Oh, there you go. See, I gave him a consultation there, and he paid me for the consultation. So it's all fair. I got this consulting company, and I'm going to pay taxes on it. That's how I launder my money, right? And that's how you get paid without having the, quote, money trail of I'm a paid actor, protester, or whatever. Right? There's people that get the direct deposits. They get zellied the money. You know, here, we'll zelly you the money.
Well, you still got to claim it with the IRS because they'll want to know where it came from. But you know what? I think
they'll want to know where it came from depending on who is in charge at the IRS and what their leanings are. If your boss is leaning very far right, He might say, I want you to go after those left organizations because I know they're not paying their fair share of taxes. But if he's leaning very far left, he might go, I want you to go after those right organizations because I don't think they're paying their fair share of taxes. So if they were going after all the organizations equally, what a wonderful world this would be.
We would live in, yeah.
Yeah.
Your soul for logic exceeds mine.
If everyone paid their fair share, by fair share, I don't mean, okay, if you're a billionaire, right? And this is why I'm all about a flat tax. I love a flat tax. They say it, but it's oppressive to the poor. So don't be poor. Here's my answer to that. Get a job and don't be poor.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
A 10% flat tax across the board. No 501c3s, no 501c anythings, right?
Right.
You bring in income, you bring in any income, a dime of income, you pay your 10% flat tax across the board. Inside of 1 year, we would have to lower that to 5% flat tax across the board because we did have so much money coming in.
Why don't they do that? Why don't they do that, Mike?
Because here's the thing. If I'm a billionaire and I go to my legislatures, the guys, my congressmen, and I say, listen, we need the tax structure to be written like this, right? And they write it, and it benefits me, and then I use the law. Right, to pay less taxes. But that's the law. It's fair. It's legit. I'm legit. It's fair. And guess what? Every other billionaire out there is going to use that exact same law to save money. So I may not be the billionaire that got the congressman to do this, but I'm benefiting from it. And guess why I'm a billionaire? Guess why I'm a billionaire, Dennis? Which I'm not.
Because of that.
No, because I know how to play the money system. I'm good with money. And if there's something out there that's going to benefit me, as long as it's lawful, I'm going to do it. So if you don't like that, change the law. But they're not going to change the law because the little people aren't the ones paying them. They could get the useful idiots to vote them in. Then you get this billionaire and says, listen, I got to front $10 million, which is what, 1%? 1%.
Okay.
$10 million is 1% of his net worth, right? Which he's going to get back 3% in interest, simple poor man's interest, right? So 1%, he invests 1% to pay a bunch of people, to put in the right people that are going to save him $15 million in taxes. Now he just made $5 million with a $10 million investment. He made a 50% profit because he's got the money to spread around like that. It's tax the rich, sure. Easiest way to tax the rich, flat tax. And how do the rich prevent that flat tax from happening? They pay people to scream that it's oppressive to the poor. When in reality, if there's no law protecting them, tax law protecting them, it's oppressive to them. But what's more oppressive? A billionaire that loses $10 million? Or a guy that's got $10 that has to give up $1?
The poor.
What?
The
poor guy, it's more oppressive to him, really. And they put that out there because it really doesn't matter to them. But they're so, I don't, thank God I don't, thank God I'm just getting by. I don't want to.
Right, but wait, if they had bad law,
I'm still young.
Like Europe, and we end up doing away with all the accountants and the CPAs. They created that industry, as I've seen it, once I got my corporation back in the 90s. And they argue that as well because it does away with all of them and their income. But I think I should either be your political manager or you be mine, but I'm too old and you might be too.
Too many skeletons in my closet. Oh my God, like that guy, who's the guy that had the Connex with all the bones in there they were stealing from the graveyard? The skeletons in my closet makes that guy look clean.
That's a sensitive issue.
All right, Dennis, we got to go to break. It was great talking to you again, Dave.
I love your show because you know what? It sets aside mind time for me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And we're going to break. We'll come back for the last quarter of the Chief Guard of the Republic radio show. Oh, we got 1 minute. I'll talk. Hey, go Bears. We're going to be watching the Bears game tomorrow night at the community center for my Post 104 American Legion. Got like a 10-foot screen. We got the projector up there. It's going to be great.
Nice. Bear. And if anything I have fails, I might be at your doorstep. Thank you.
Something? Are you making something? Let's see.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who help people that have been injured or wronged. If you've been involved in a serious car, truck, or motorcycle accident or injured at work, you have rights, and you may be entitled to money for your suffering. Don't accept an offer you get from an insurance company until you talk to a lawyer. And we represent some of the best personal injury lawyers you can find. Tough lawyers that will fight to win your case. And they're so good they stake their reputation on it by only getting paid if you win. So if you've been in a serious car, truck, or motorcycle accident or hurt on the job, find out today for free what kind of compensation you may be entitled to. Call the legal helpline right now.
800-257-3148. 800-257-3148. 800-257-3148. That's 800-257-3148.
Here on WRMN AM 1410, we like to keep you informed and in tune to what's happening here in the Fox River Valley and what's going on here on WRMN. We recognize the importance of local radio to be a part of the conversation and to be a part of the community for the community.
You know, we talked about the importance of community theater, but supporting community radio is a big deal too. And, you know, for WRMN, this is a really cool thing that you guys do every day, and a really important thing. You have to have a local media outlet to talk about what's going on in your town. So you guys do a nice job.
Tune in to AM 1410, WRMN. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/WRMN Radio. Keep in tune and informed on what's happening here in the Fox River Valley, right here on WRMN.
Businesses come in all shapes and sizes. Integrity doesn't. For more than a century, the Better Business Bureau has set the standards for how businesses should operate honestly and ethically. So when you're looking for a business you can trust, check to see who's BBB accredited and who isn't. Always choose the Better Business. Look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-433-3082. 800-433-3082. 800-433-3082. That's 800-433-3082.
Fix Bayonets, comrades. We're back for the Chief Guard of the Republic radio show with your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt every Saturday, noon to 1. WRMN, 1410 AM. Fox River Valley Media Network, streaming on WRMN1410.com. Studio call-in number, 847-931-1410. Our text number is 505-926-1410. You could get this all on WRMN1410.com, or you could spot us on the YouTube live channel for WRMN, and you could make comments there. And as always, if you go to cgr.scilink.net, we have our webpage, Chief Guard of the Republic webpage. It's cgr.psylink.net. Again, I can't believe scilink.net wasn't taken, man. I'm great. That was a great grab as a
Chicken.
yeah. And then you can also go to the Chief Guard of the Republic YouTube channel, where I upload I download from WRMN, then I take the commercials out and I upload it to our own YouTube channel. So it's be without the commercials. And so, Paul, I've been ranting for quite a while. You got some extra stuff to put in here? I know you're burning up to do it.
No, just that I don't like what's happening. I really don't like what's happening. I saw the superintendent in Chicago, I think it was yesterday or something, said, you can't interfere with law enforcement, and he said the most common sense thing I've seen in a long time. But I don't understand why people think that they can impose their will on the government. I mean,
that's our system of government. Is the people are supposed to impose their will on the government at the ballot box, right, or with the telephone to their congressman, or go to the congressman's office, or like you said, the town halls. Go to the town hall. Right. Go into that Zoom town hall and let that congressman know, right? And then scream it out to everyone else. The trouble is, like I've seen on the street of Chicago, when something happens that's kind of newsworthy, there'll be a pretty well-dressed, well-behaved, very articulate person there, and the press will walk right by him and find the biggest clown goof to interview. They'll step right by the normal person, go to the goof. Oh, that makes great television, right? And we could tell the goof, we could direct the goof what to say. The other person's going to be like, nah, I don't see it that way. I see this, and that's the trouble, that you got to be, in order to get on the mainstream media, you got to be a goof.
Well, sometimes it backfired, because the dead good, they went to her ex-father-in-law, the grandfather of the kid.
Yeah.
And he said he doesn't hold it against anybody, but he said he wished she had walked in the path of righteousness and God. And then, the people that were interviewing her were like dumbfounded.
And then they never showed that interview again. But
yeah.
It's like if he had said, oh, my God, why did they do that? They're such Nazis, they would be on repeat. They put it on loop. You'd see the guy go, no, Nazi, but you say something that's kind of respectful, right? And you could say what you want. Did he say anything hateful? Like, I can't believe she left my grandchild without a mother or anything. He just said, I wish
he kind of intimated that. He said that, it's sad that the kid's by himself now.
Yeah, but he's
and you know,
yeah. So, like I'm saying, it's a manipulation. It's mind manipulation out there. You repeat the same lie over and over and over, and suddenly it becomes the truth. Right? You scream it loud enough and long enough, and it becomes the truth.
It becomes the narrative.
Becomes the narrative.
And then no one's willing to acknowledge that it's wrong because that's the party. It's the party line.
Yeah.
It's become the Fox Trotsky, or it's become the purge when you get the urge, or the czar went too far. It's whatever slogans were hip in 1917 are now hip in 2026.
Yeah, well, you remember what happened to Trotsky. He died of a splitting headache in Mexico City in 1940. So even the great world changer, the guy that was going to bring world communism, right? Everybody's going to be equally poor, right? Everyone's going to be equal. It's going to be so great. His own dude, I don't think they ever got along. But yeah, he definitely was. He was iced by his own by Stalin.
He was definitely ice picked.
Yeah, ice picked.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you see, if they're all true believers, one's going, they're just jealous of each other at that point because someone's got a little more than they got. But getting back,
that's absolutely true. You will have people that are multimillionaires, and if some poor guy just gets some deal, they're so mad because they didn't get the deal, even though they've got more than enough for themselves. All
right. So I tried to educate my kids, right? And I says, there's some questions you don't ask, and you don't answer because it's really none of anyone's business, right? One thing is, how much did you pay for your house? Okay? Or how much did you pay for a car? Right? Because, hey, here's the answer you're going to get, and you're not going to like it, and it's going to cause fights. If I tell a guy I paid $20,000 for my car, he's going to say, well, I know a guy that could have got you for $19,000. Right? Now you're going to feel bad because maybe you paid $1,000 too much. Right? And now you feel belittled because this guy could have done it better. Tell them how much you make, your salary. That used to be very rude, right? You could be dressed up in the nicest clothes and be making a real minor salary. It's no one's business what you make either. But if you say that, they're going to look down on you if there's too much money. Or there's not enough money, or there's too much money, right? Car, house, finances like that. That's why that stuff should be kept secret, right? As much as you can. But the credit companies grab you. They keep in track of you. They know. And now you got credit scores. Don't tell anyone your credit score either, because it's no one's business, not even the credit companies, right? Because they give credit to everybody. And guess what? You're paying the 29. Now, that's another thing they're trying to do is to cap that out at 10%, right?
That's what it should be. I've said that a long time ago.
All right. So I had one guy, what a fraudster this guy was, right? And he would change his name by like one letter or something. And he would open up all sorts of credit accounts. He would max them the hell out. He lived big. Then he'd never pay it. He'd just walk away from it. I said, like my dad, I asked him, because he was a detective, and he did general assignments, a lot of property crimes, and no one else knew what to do, right? These are crimes that no one knows what to do with them, I says, Dad, what if you're going to be a criminal, what would you do? And he said, check kite. But that was back in the day, right? Check kiting. I'm like, whoa. I go, why? He says, because there's too many witnesses, and you can't get them all to show up in court to prosecute you. So you never have to take a deal, because they'll never be able to prosecute you. It's too expensive for them, right? They'll catch you and tell you to stop, and you could just do it again. Well, my idea was just to get as many credit cards as I could, cash them out, right? Put it all in an overseas bank in Panama, and then leave, never pay them. Have $1 million and live off the interest in Panama. Oh, we got another call. How you doing? Who's the caller?
Yeah, it's your regular.
Hi, Dennis.
Your favorite fan. Listen, I'll tell you a story about the credit cards, all right? Whether you guys want to believe it or not, I have a good friend I grew up with. He's originally from Northern Ireland, lived in Canada for a bit. Then all of a sudden he was my schoolmate in junior high on the west side of Cleveland. He works for Visa.
You just gave me some clues that I could really narrow this guy down. I could probably tell you exactly what his name and shoe size is.
Good. He worked for Visa. He's a millionaire, and he did nothing but play with a computer. But he explained it, and it makes sense, that the credit card companies want the government to give everybody that comes into this country, legal or otherwise, a credit card, and they move on from there. Because all they do is max it out, just like you were talking about, and it gives them big bucks, big money, and
well, they get they get the credit card companies, whereas they're charging you interest on it, they're taking their cut off the top from the vendor with the fees. That's why a lot of restaurants will boost if you pay with a credit card now, they'll boost it by 3%. If you pay for gas with a credit,
we pay credit cards too, but I don't like customers that want to use the credit card because they could come back with a complaint. Anyhow, the thing is, the government gives or blesses everybody with a credit card that comes in because they're going to be working, they're going to be paying taxes, hopefully, and they really don't. But that's my story. That's all I got.
Thanks, Dennis.
I can't say enough about the show. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dennis.
Can I tell you a story about a credit card?
Go ahead, Paul.
So the state's attorney at the time had a relative whose credit card number was taken in a dumpster dive, and some guy on the east side stole her identity and had made some purchases, right? So they gave me the case, So we track the person down, and we arrest them, and we indict them for identity theft and all this stuff. And it wasn't a lot of money, so I'm probably not going to get a jail time, but I wanted to prove a point, and I wanted the money paid back. Okay, and the judge agreed and everything. And we contacted American Express, that was a credit card company, and they said they weren't going to take the money. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, we would have to amend our taxes, and we can't. We're a major multinational corporation. We can't do that. We don't care. I said, what do you mean you don't care? They said, we don't care. I said, well, I'm going to send you the money anyway. And they said, we're just going to tear it up. I said, I don't care what you do with it, but I said, I'm sending you the money. So and you know what? They tore it up.
Yeah. Well, no, I can understand that. You got to, honestly, these corporations, the thing is, they write it off. Like I said, when we had the big mortgage fraud things going on, all right? Mortgage fraud, this on the west side. Oh, this building's worth $300,000. Well, sure, if it was on the northwest side, it'd be worth $300,000, but it's worth $3,000 right here, And so, guy takes out a mortgage on it, right? Cash out mortgage on the building, and he never pays it off. He walks away with $300,000, and the bank's left with a $3,000 house. But what do? They bundle those mortgages. They know they're all BS, right? And they sell them off, and they make their cut. And the mortgage brokers take their cut off the top. And then they sell them off, and they got bailed out, right? Everyone got bailed out. The insurance companies should have done their due diligence, but used to be the best thing you can invest in was a person's mortgage, right? Best thing, the people need a place to live, they're always going to pay. Right? So you always got that money come in. And usually it's outrageous interest, way higher, than the banks give out. So if the banks are giving 1% interest out on your savings account, they're charging you 4% on a mortgage, which, but if the banks are giving out 5% on a savings account, they're charging you 17% on a mortgage, right? So they never lose the money, but they don't take their due diligence, and it's laziness on their part, and then they get bailed out here, they get bailed out there. That's where the fat cats, that's where the government should be like, well, we're too big to fail. No, you're not. Goodbye. And when all the investors go, what happened to my money? See that guy? See that guy over there that's still living in that big mansion? You go get it off of him. File a civil suit against him. We're not bailing them out because that's other people's money. That's my money. I never committed mortgage fraud. I never invested in these insurance companies. I never invested in these investment companies or real estate companies, right? But that my tax dollars are going to pay off their malfeasance. Why? That's what we're getting here. We got one state, Minnesota, another state, Illinois, we live in, so I could talk about it, right? That are being sanctuary states, and they're spending tax dollars from other states on people that shouldn't be here. So why should some jamoke in Idaho be paying for some guy that shouldn't be here legally tax dollars through the federal government to the state, right, for this person? It's theft. It's theft. It's redistribution of wealth. It's the unbelievable socialist system. But that's our executive officer keeping himself in office. Plus, another thing they said, that Minnesota has lost so many migrants, undocumented illegal immigrants, that supposedly you're allowed to count in the census. They've lost so many so far that they're going to lose a representative in Congress because their population has gone down. But not only that, people have left Minnesota to go to other states, right? Because they didn't like, what was happening. So a lot of people where they might not vote in the polling place will definitely vote with their feet. You got 3 ways to vote in this country. 3 ways to vote. You can vote with your vote. You're supposed to be a citizen. That vote has been deemed worthless because there is no enforcement on making sure that some guy isn't voting illegally. I mean, right? I got a franchise. I'm a citizen. I was born here. I lived my whole life here. I've worked here. I've served 38 years for my country in the service, all right? Deployed overseas, combat zones, all that stuff. I got a franchise in my vote, all right? It's worth something. And it's not worth anything because my vote is immediately canceled out by the nursing home vote in Chicago, all right? That's sold off. Illegal votes, vote harvesting, the whole thing. My vote is absolutely worthless. Second way you can vote, with your pocketbook. No one's going to force you to shop at Jewel or Mariano's or wherever, or any of these other places. You could choose where you want to shop. If one grocery store treats you like crap, don't go there anymore. If you got to travel a little further, go to the other one. You don't have to spend your money there. Of course, the government just changed that, Now they could force you to spend money on health care. So you can't even choose, really. Well, you could choose your own health care. It's just going to cost you a fortune, right? Well, the other way to vote is with your feet. You have freedom of movement. Wait until a federal judge says, no one can move from Minnesota. You have to live there forever. How far along do you think that is? Next week? In a month? I guarantee you some federal judge is going to put a immediate, what do they call it? Injunction against people moving. No, you can't move. You have to stay there. Because they can. And then they'll wait for it to get overturned, and then the state that it supports, like Minnesota, will take that, it'll get overturned by the Court of Appeals, but then they'll take it up to the Supreme Court and they'll go, well, no, we got reason for this and everything else, and they'll have it for 4 years where people will be stuck in that state. And when the injunction gets lifted, right? When it's finally lifted, when the Supreme Court says that's totally unconstitutional, how are they going to reimburse the people that were stuck there for 4 years? They won't. So even then, there's no consequences for this stuff. There's no consequences, right? Except they won't be able to do it again because it'll be immediately, right? So you can vote with your vote. Sometimes I vote anyways. Even though my vote is worthless, I vote anyways. Because I love lying to pollsters. And I love telling the people that they're too close to the polling center. I said, get away. Why? Too close to the polling center, I'm going to have you arrested. I'll sign complaints. I have no fear of you. Call the alderman. I don't care. Call him. He gets too close, I'll have him locked up too. Of course, the police will probably, oh, well, no, we can't do that. Oh. Which makes me almost want to be an election judge because the police can't refuse you if you're an election judge. That's the day that you have the most power as a citizen. So maybe I should get off my butt and become an election judge next time they have these primaries. I think I will. Think that's a good thing, Paul?
It's always good to be an election judge.
All right. So I will do it. And unless I have something more important to do, like, trim my toenails. But yeah, so you vote, you have your vote, you have your money, you have your feet. And what's happening in Minnesota? Not only are people getting deported, but people are moving with their feet. I mean, it's cold. I mean, it is a fisherman. It is a paradise. It is a hunter's, it's up north there. Cold. You got Great Lakes. I know great people from Minnesota and everything.
Hey there.
It's a large state, all right? It's a large state. But people are leaving for warmer, better, more normal climates where they don't have to, put up with the crime that is inherent with illegal immigration. Someone tell me it isn't. If you're willing to commit a crime, risk incarceration just to come to our country, right? What else are you willing to do once you get here and you realize there's really no consequences compared to the consequences you would face in your own country for the stuff you do? Hey, if the Somali government caught a Somali guy stealing $1 billion from him, and he wasn't connected, like really connected, really connected, how long before that guy was stoned, beheaded, or instead of beheading is so drastic, they'll just give him a 9-inch haircut. They'll just shorten him by 9 inches from the top down. How long before they instantly. But they come over here, it's impunity. What's happened to any of them? Some of them, after 2 years of not being incarcerated and playing around and living off public aid, living high on the hog, have finally been found guilty. All right? And I bet you they've been kept to bail before sentencing. I bet you 90% of them leave the country. And 10% of the dumbest of the dumb will stick around and go to prison. And everybody will be laughing at them because they're the guys we did catch some fraudsters. Yeah, you mean the guy that's sitting over there smearing feces on himself? Good job. You got the worst of the worst there. So every other state here is paying for that. Malfeasance of the governor. And they're paying on a federal level. And when the feds say they're going to stop the public aid, all of a sudden you got a judge saying, no, you got to keep paying it. No, I don't. All right, so we'll see you next week for Chief Guard of the Republic radio show. We'll know the Bears are going to win tomorrow, so we'll be talking about the Bears game for next week.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Bye-bye.